Hello, and today we arm ourselves at the convention as the zombie apocalypse is amongst the proving grounds again. A reoccurring meme at this point, isn't it? Anywho, today we are talking about Streets of Wed, Devil's Dale Deluxe. Now, originally, and until today, I have basically been calling this game Streets of Wed. Because it seems like it would be the short-term handle. And while it is what most people call the game, and short-term, it is interesting to note where Devil's Dale comes from. So, we're going to be playing the PS4 version, but this is also on PC and Switch. And the reason I bring up the title is because it also originated on PC. That part's probably not as shocking, but what is weird is as an entirely different game. So originally this game came out years and years ago as Devil's Dale. Several enemies and one of the characters were completely different. The character that wears a Shovel Knight-esque armor and wields a shovel in this game did not look like that. They actually wielded an axe with a Viking horns that was supposed to be, what's his name? Gimli from Golden Axe kind of reference still. And there were a few enemies changed also. And obviously some improvements, and there were actually more bosses added to the deluxe version of this game. Now, where Streets of Wed comes from was porting the game to consoles, because Devil's Dale is only on PC, which actually you could still get if you're actually interested in that. But that is where the title change came in, was for its port. And then the port was very successful, and it cycled back around to Steam, where it again returned to its original audience, and was actually gifted to the original buyers of Devil's Dale. So that was some very nice of the devs to actually do for their original customers, who, sadly in the game industry, very often get screwed for being early customers. So that's good on Secret Basement for actually rewarding the people that support them in the beginning. Now, I can't obviously speak on Devil's Dale, because as I said, we're playing the PS4 version of Streets of Wed Devil's Dale. But I did check out some videos and old reviews to kind of see a few things that may have been different. Mostly what I saw was mostly visual on some of the enemies and things, and not necessarily any, like, deep mechanics, at least that I can tell from watching as a video versus playing. And I'm sure there could be some bell responses and things likely possible, but anyway, that's in a different detail. We'll talk a little bit more about Devil's Dale when we get on the price points and stuff. So this is also, upon the note, this is the limited one games version. And the reason I bring that up is because apparently the original digital launch version of this was actually buggy. There were several bugs. I did not experience any of these bugs because when I was doing a lot of this past research, I also dabbled into past issues, and it was apparently very buggy on PS4, Switch when it first came out. This is not the case with the Limited 1 version, which had no updates on it when I played it, so I just want to note that as well. So, let's get into it. So, Streets of Wed Devil's Dale is a beat-em-up game, but not in the vein that I would say of Streets of Rage. I've heard people compare it to Scott Pilgrim's arcade game, and I've played only a little bit of it, but when I think about it, it does make sense, because you do gather money and such in that, so I can maybe get the comparison with that. Now, there's no jumping in this game, and special moves are tied to your soul points or the SP bar, which is a little blue bar below your character's health. Now, attacking-wise, you have a normal attack, and then you have two ways to do specials. Now, depending on the character you choose, all the characters are different. They have many different special ways their attacks are, and advantages against certain enemy types. And everyone can also do a wall type dodge and one around the screen, which can be useful. You can't do it very easily at some angles that sometimes it's... Well, actually, it's working all right now. I remember having a little problem with that. Maybe it was the way I was holding it. Maybe I'm just crazy. But there was no jumping option in this. And depending on the character you choose, your specials are different. Like, for example, the Linkish character has a hookshot ability that he can drag in opponents, while other characters may have more destructive, closer needs of that. But that depends on who you choose. Out of the original full cast members, you have basically a Link knockoff, a Final Fantasy VI mech knockoff, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles knockoff, and Shovel Knight knockoff that originally was a Golden Axe knockoff. We there? There are also two unlockable characters that are both Contra references, which I think kind of is a waste of an extra reference. Maybe had one focus on Contra and another will be another kind of reference of something. Now, story-wise, this game has, like, no real deep story or anything. Your characters are just a bunch of nerds at a convention. The zombie apocalypse happens, and a red fairy comes and says, well, we need to save the day. And that's pretty much the premise. There is an ending and that, you know, that'll be spoilers and that, but the story is definitely not the main treat here at all. It's definitely on the gameplay side of things. So if you're looking for some deep story, this isn't the place. And not that beat-em-ups are really were known for deep stories, but this is definitely not even close to the deepest. Now, what's really interesting about this game, in my opinion, is while it doesn't have a what I would describe as a very deep combat system, it is a very addicting combat system, oddly enough. While not flashy or crazy off the top wall, it has this really nice loop of trying to do finishers. When an enemy is dead, you get an opportunity to do a finisher, and using an SP move on it causes a special kill, which makes it drop money. If you can combo multiple enemies, you can cause a massacre when doing finishers, and this generates food. So you can get healed, extra funds, and have lots of fun. This creates a nice loop of combat, of trying to finish them to get your most of your money. And your money in this game plays a lot of different interesting roles that adds on top of the fun. So, in keeping with the kind of arcade spirit of beat-em-ups, your money plays as, well, your quarters. Every time you die, you can use some of your money to revive yourself. That price, however, keeps going up every time you die, so you don't want to think you just can keep reviving yourself, because that price quickly can go up very heftily to the points where it's impossible to get the money in even a single playthrough. So, yeah, you want to be careful about dying. But you can get a revival too quite simply if you do decently enough with all the massacres and finishers. Other reasons to also want to get as much money is basically at the end of a stage, you get a little bit of a roulette thing, and you get several options of stuff to buy. The main thing are abilities or things that can make your character improve. Better health pool, faster speed, several enhancements to that character's special abilities. There was sometimes a few kind of accessory-like effects, like regening and getting SP regen. There's a really nice one that regens your health when you get low in that. You can also buy a soul token that basically is a free revive. Well, I mean, you paid for it, but you get what I mean. It's an item form of a revive. There's also a funny gag with the pendant from Dark Souls in this. There's a lot of references. I mean, the speed up thing is a reference to Sonic, so But it's a really nice idea. You can get some customization with your character. You can choose to enhance the difficulty by just not buying anything. You can make some nice choices, waste money. You can do whatever with that, yeah? But money is also score too, so if you're interested in the leaderboards and such, your money is also that. So you gotta keep that in mind too if that's your cup of tea. But the idea of mixing it with a arcade cabinet kind of idea, I really like that idea. It's very nice. Now obviously if you can't pay the toll for your revive, you die. And your save data is also deleted. So there's no cheating reloading, buddy. It's gone. Now, some might think that's kind of cruel, but there are all difficulties. You have casual, which trophies and leaderboards are disabled on casual. You got classic, which is basically normal, and then you got export, which, as I mentioned, there were bosses added, and those bosses were added into export mode, and I haven't gotten to fight any of those bosses. I'm not sure if I can even survive export mode. I have not given that a try yet, but I might go down that route just to check out the additional bosses, because, well, the bosses are definitely the highlight of the fighting in this game. While the normal enemies get kind of regurgitated quite often as you get through the game, the bosses are definitely the standout moments. They are definitely very interesting and good references. And that's probably something I should have mentioned a lot sooner. This game is reference hell. In a good way, in my opinion. If you grew up in the 90s, the arcades, and a lot of retro games, oh boy, are you gonna see a lot of lovely, hilarious, and interesting references. But not even that. I'm sure there's many references I missed, as there was several now references to horror movies and pop cultural things that I'm not as familiar with. I mean, I remember somebody, I believe, pointed out, I can't remember what it was. It was some horror TV show when I was playing, and I'm like, I don't even know who that is. So, there are lots of delightful references of many games I've played. So I enjoyed, and I would refine some, well, not refine, but I would find newer references on Wii Plays. And Wii playing is actually encouraged in this game, not simply for high score, unlocking 2 additional characters, but because there are different bosses depending on your way through the game. This was a complaint I had for Streets of Rage 4, and it is solved in this one. There are multiple paths to take. Now, this does a very interesting idea. You technically go all stages, but depending on the order you go to those stages, the later one, basically the earliest one you do is the shortest, and as you choose them later and later, the last one will be the longest. And those extended parts on the level are the furthermore stages of it. And depending on which of the selected stages you choose last, you'll have a different boss fight. It creates a really different mood though. And some bosses will appear in different areas too, so depending on how you go through it, you can encounter bosses in different locations as well. So, like the Jason Voorhees referenced boss, I met him in 3 completely different locations in each of my 3 playthroughs I went through. I haven't done the 4th one yet. And it's just, it is fun to replay. And it's up to 4 players, so you can have maximum carnage if you want to enjoy that. But there is no online, it is local, so you'll either have to do some the share play or Steam's version of share play, which is likely more stable than share play on PlayStation, and you're basically screwed on Switch. So unless somebody makes some kind of system to like play over the internet through like a signal Wi-Fi thing. That maybe that'd be an option, but I don't know of anything like that for the Switch. Wouldn't be surprised if something like that cropped up in the future, though. Now, Streets of Rage, Streets of Rage has a very simple graphical look. It's not very complicated looking at all. It's not super detailed there, but it is pleasing to the eye. Like, comparing it to, like, Streets of Rage 4, I mean, yeah, Streets of Rage 4 graphical looks much better and everything, but I feel like I said, this is a very simple style, and it all works really tightly, and it almost really makes me want to tell you this is a better game than Streets of Rage 4. It has replayability, the characters have a lot of differences in them, you can customize them in many different ways with their abilities or accessory abilities that, or like the speed up and regen things all the characters can get, but like I said, there's also ones that affect their unique abilities directly as well, so there's a lot of different, and it's a roulette thing, so there's even a chance you might not even get your special ability ones as options. So you're not guaranteed those either every time, so it makes each playthrough a bit different and maybe a little worrisome of that. Now, the thing to bring up is there are 2 endings for this game, and depending on your cash flow is whether you can get the true ending. There is a block for the true ending if you don't have enough money to go into it. I will explain how and why that is the case, but aside from that, you can go straight to the true ending, and the true ending and normal ending thing is kind of a interesting duology for the high score leaderboards, because like I said, your money plays as your score for the leaderboards, but you have to spend money to get to the true ending stages, which consumes a chunk of your score. So, when you look at the leaderboards, there's a lot of different people who got the good ending and the not so good ending, and it's interesting to debate on if you're trying for high score stuff for that. So I think I would imagine speedrunning and high scoring can be also an interesting undertaking with this game. I even checked on the speedrun on there are all people who speedrun this game, so it does have a community in that sense as well. So definitely an interesting game. I like it. 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 Now here's the amazing part. The amazing part to me is that this game is fucking $8.99. Holy shit. It's $9? That's crazy to me. Like, it has replayability, has different boss encounters, different bosses that you can fight on different paths, a true ending, high scores. It has online leaderboards, but no online co-op, sadly, which is one of the things Streets of Rage 4 did at least somewhat okay, though they didn't do it up to 4 player, only 2 player. But, I gotta say, though, I feel actually like I cheated the devs in that kind of price range with the digital version. Now, I got the physical version, so obviously I paid more. Be honest, I think this is a good $15 value here, honestly. I think this is actually just fucking being given away to people. I actually really like this game. Like I said, it's not a deep story. The music is not necessarily what I would run down the street with a CD player with, but it gets the job done that. Now, one thing I would actually complain about, though, between other beat-em-ups, is the game is devoid of color, and I get it's kind of going with the whole kind of setting of having a very darker tone to it, even though it's a very light-hearted game, really. But that is a common complaint I've seen when taking a browse through, like, Steam reviews, and I can understand that, but honestly, I don't think it really bothered me. it actually gives it its own style, because, well, let's face it, trying to stand out from the crowd's not that easy, especially when you're not mixing up your game to be some really different beast compared to its competition. So I feel like it helps it stand out, but I can understand wanting some more color. Red is pretty much the only color that stands out a lot. Other than that, it's mostly a grayish ground, and yeah, I mean, I can understand, but I think it works with the aesthetic they're going with the game. But that's a fair criticism. But overall, I think this is a good value. This is holy crap cheap. Though it is kind of weird that on the Switch and Steam it's $9.99, where on PSN, as I said, it's $8.99. So kinda odd on the price point there. I'm not quite sure why it's different. It's not that big of a difference. Now, I did say we were gonna come back to Devil's Dale. Now, Devil's Dale is still available on Steam for $12.99, which is incredibly weird considering it is apparently flawed and a bit buggy. Now, from what I can understand, take this with a grain of salt, but from what I understand, if you buy Devil's Dale, you get upgraded to Streets of Red. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily still working. When looking into it, like I said at the beginning, the devs gave everyone who bought the original release the game, the upgrade Deluxe, for free. Now, I don't know if that was just during that time or if it's forever. From what I can see in topics about it, as far as I can understand, it's still in place. So if you buy it, you get Streets of Red Devil's Dale Deluxe on Steam. Again, you might want to look further into that just to make sure. Grain of salt. But if you are interested in checking out the original form of this game prior to its console port and then being ported back to Steam, you could shell out a few extra dollars and get both, assuming that's still the case. I definitely think it is actually worth more than fucking $9. I think it's really nice. Now, admittedly, it's not a super long game, especially if you're not planning on replaying it. My first playthrough was, I think it was like 3 hours, but when I started replaying the game, I got around like about like an hour, or let's see, let me look up here. I can check my videos. Let's see. Streets of Red. So the first one. Yeah, you're looking at about like 3 hours. First one. Then after that, I got between an hour and 30 minutes to like 2 hour range. So, yeah. You're looking at probably average around 2 hours a playthrough, probably, depending on your skill, if you're playing on Classic. Now, Export, I would imagine, involves a lot more tough problems and shit. Now, when it comes to, like, bugs and stuff, did I experience a lot of bugs? I didn't, like I said, when I was researching the game, the original console digital launch apparently had a bunch of bugs, and I saw them in a few people's video reviews when I was looking up Devil's Dale stuff, trying to find some, because there's not a lot of videos on the original Devil's Dale, so trying to find some was actually a little tricky. But something I did see in some other videos was that apparently there was some problems with like enemies turning invisible and shit and going off screen and things. I did not experience any of that at all in this game. Probably the worst thing I really experienced was money falling off like through walls and stuff on certain stages. Like there was this one where there's an elevator going up between two buildings, or the train stage. If the money falls beyond the wall, it's gone. If it's not really close to the wall, so that's a bit of a crapshoot for collecting money. Another thing that's weird is there are pitfall areas. And there was sometimes some really wonky ways that when your character falls off into the pit. There was one time I actually got my character back out without dying. It was really bizarre. But some of my fall deaths were kind of weird, but not necessarily like unfair. Just kind of how they like. Several of the times they'll like stand up in the pit and then die. It's kind of weird, but not game breaking or anything. I didn't really experience anything game breaking, destructive or anything in my 3 playthroughs of the game so far. So if any of these bugs were that big when this game first was digital, they either are very rare or they've been patched out. Like I said, the physical version that I got didn't have any updates available on PSN, so it's the fully patched game. So, there. And that includes the extra bosses that were in the game too, so it's complete. Assuming they don't do any other updates, but that boss update was like in 2018, so probably not likely. Now, I would love to see, like, a sequel, because honestly, I really like this game. I really do. I love the references, like, you know, like, they don't really try to make this big, fake story, kind of, like, I mean, beat-em-ups aren't really renowned for deep stories, man, so I really like how they just focused a lot more on the gameplay instead of trying to make some kind of epic story. That was like what was disappointing with Streets of Rage 4 to me. It's like, it's been so long since the last Streets of Rage game, and you could have done so much more. I'm not asking for like a super gigantic story, but you could have stepped up from Streets of Rage 3's storytelling on the Sega Genesis. Just saying. But they focus way on the gameplay here, so so definitely recommend it if you're into beat 'em ups. I really enjoy it, and I beat on classic, so you know if you think it's if you think there's been a game that was easy for you that I had trouble with, then you shouldn't have trouble with this game. I was able to go through it 3 times on classic. Now, admittedly, my first time playing through it, I obviously had more trouble because I was learning the controls and stuff, and once I got into the whole grasp of finishing and massacring that, you get into the cycle of it, you get a lot more easier on the survivability. I would imagine you have to abuse the hell out of massacres likely in hardcore mode, I would imagine. But you do have access to a platinum trophy also on PSN. There's also Steam tree achievements in that. Obviously nothing on Switch in that regard, but it's on Switch, it's on PS4, and it is on Steam. Now, I did forget, actually, when I think about it, I usually look up the eBay price. I forgot to actually fucking do that like a dunderhead. So let's do that right now, because I'm not sure what the... It had a LE, a limited... It had a collector's box, that's what I'm looking for. It had a collector... I can't talk. It had a collector's box and a standard release version. So, you know, I haven't been getting a lot of collector's boxes lately. I've been mostly just sticking with standard boxes. So, let's take a look here. If you want a standard copy, it looks like currently for Switch and PS4, is hovering around $30 to $50 range. If you want the limited edition collector's box, that seems to be hovering between $70 to $100. So yeah, that's a bit of a spicy price point on the physical version now. Oof, oof, oof. That's a little pricey though. Ouchie, 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 ouchie. I'm gonna have to edit this before the spoil section. I'm gonna have to do that. Oh, bad me. You gotta get some extra editing in there. So let's go into spoilers. Spoilers. So, spoilers. So as I said, there's a point in the game where you have to spend money to be able to access the true ending. So what happens is the little red fairy asks you for, I think it was 6,666 in-game dollars. If you refuse, you get the bad normal ending, whatever you want to call it, where you don't really find out what the fuck happened. It's like, eh. But if you do pay it, you find out the fairy is actually behind everything, and you activate the end game of the true ending, where you have to go through a bit more of the game, and then you fight an evil Teletubby boss. That's actually pretty tricky, actually. He can hand you your ass if you're not careful and stay on your toes. But, yeah, it's pretty weird. The ending is completely just fucking doesn't really resolve anything. It doesn't explain much about how people got their souls back or anything. Like I said, this game definitely just throws the story into the fucking sea with cement shoes and just like, fuck it, we're just going with some gameplay. It's just literally just a backdrop for the game setting. They don't really hide that, in my opinion. But I loved many of the references. Let's talk about some of those. One that I just immediately knew the second it fucking opened was the Final Fantasy VI train yard reference. Not the train yard in Final Fantasy VII. For you, I mean the Phantom train, you know, where Cybin fucking body slams a fucking train, and you can find him and Cyan's corpses laying in the background. That dude with the chainsaw from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I swear that one body in that stage there too is also that. There's a binding of Isaac as Jason Voorhees. That was a double reference. Very nice. I liked that. Chucky dolls. There's all kinds of dead. There was alien hominid head and FBI agents from Alien Hominid laying around in one of the town areas. Sewer areas. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle references. There's just all kinds of fucking delightful references. Oh, by the way, Jim Storring's a boss enemy in this. Oh, speaking of which, one of my favorite bosses is the business office one that mimics what most people probably remember is like the Shredder fight in Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo, where he's like in a machine you throw foot soldiers at. But I remember that kind of thing from Battletoads, because it was, especially since it's in the first stage of Battletoads, where you fight a mech thing that way, throwing the enemies at it. I liked that. What was nice about that, before that part kicks in, it's a reference to Mr. X from Streets of Rage with Jim Storring as Mr. X. Like, it's just so bloated with pop cultural references that it's like watching that one comedy movie. It's like, oh look, hon, I didn't catch it the first time. It's a reference or a joke in the background or something. Like, this game thrives in that. Like, I'm sure if I played this game 3 more times, I could probably find even more references I didn't realize or note. And there's some things that were kind of left speculative. Like, there's this fly scientist boss. Like, when I first saw him, I'm just like, Backstore. Was it Backstore or Backstore? The fly guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like if you played the arcade cabinet, you're just like, oh my goodness, that. I don't know if he was a reference to him or not. I would imagine he is, because there are lots of good 90s arcade video game references. It's just hard for me not to see that as a reference as Dr. Backstory. But Backstory, I can't never say his damn name. But yeah, it's a good game. I recommend it, honestly. If you got a group of friends and that, this is fucking $9 on PSN. I feel like that is just highway wobbly. You can play up to 4 players and shit. It's not the greatest beat 'em up in the universe or anything, but I played, a lot of modern beat 'em ups, and the best you usually get is just, it works. You don't usually get any that beat some of the classics of, especially like Streets of Rage 2. That's always hard. You never usually see too many people say like, yeah, it beats Streets of Rage 2, and I wouldn't say it beats Streets of Rage 2. I'd say it's really kind of its own thing, because like I said, the money system in that, it's kind of, I didn't play a lot of Scott Pilgrim, so the few like Steam reviews that mentioned that, like, I can't directly, because from what I know, like, they added, like, a slight River City Ransom Me kind of thing with money in Scott Pilgrim, so I guess you could say they interjected a little bit of River City Ransom with a currency system. It's just a nice mix of ideas I don't usually see in a beat 'em up. I'd say the only other kind of beat 'em up I ever saw, like a money system where you bought like abilities, was in that Capcom arcade collection. There's like a weird one with like these alien characters. Like I played this like yellow cat girl and shit, like that had abilities you could buy with the money you found in the stages. Very weird. I was not used to something like that, especially from an arcade cabinet game, like an actual arcade cabinet game. I know there's a few that will like that, but I never played one growing up like that. I know, like, the arcade cabinet version of Double Dragon 3 had some weird-ass shit like that, too, and stuff. There were a few, like I said, but overall, I like it. I do. I like it much more than Streets of Rage 4, honestly, which is a real shame, because outside of Streets of Rage 4, really not feeling like it has any real replay unless you can get more players into the game. I mean, if you play it solo and you don't really have anyone else to play with, because you can only do co-op with one other person online, so you won't be able to get 3 or 4 players. I would imagine you can get some more fun out of it with 4 players, but if you can't get a group of friends over locally for that, then it just kind of doesn't really have the reason to replay of that. Anyway, I've rambled on too long. Those are my thoughts on Streets of Rage Devil's Dale Deluxe. But, if you want a physical version, I mean, $30, I don't think that's the worst thing you could do. It's a fun game, especially, I would imagine you would benefit with the Switch, because you get 2 controls per Switch unit, so, if you have one other friend with a Switch, there you go, you got 4 controllers, basically, so, it's all cool, right? Yeah, Anywho, those are my thoughts. Thank you for joining today on the red-painted streets of Streets of Rage Devil's Dale. Gamble carefully what you do with your money, because if you play oh honey, you're going down to hell in a hay basket. Until next time, I'll see you out there in the proving grounds.